So we are now in the final stretch of the entire series because we only have 5 chapters left. And this chapter caps off the ending of the Todoroki family storyline because we see the whole family coming together here to visit Dabi one last time. Dabi, after the war had ended, is only being kept alive by like this iron lung type contraption where he's suited up kind of like an Eva from Evangelion. And it's at the point of where he can only speak for a few minutes a day and he's eventually going to die. I don't mean like, eventually. I mean like, I don't know, he's probably has like weeks, months, maybe like a year left. It's not really made clear, but it's insinuated that he is going to die relatively soon. And as I said, the family is coming to visit him here. We have Fuyumi, Natsuo, and Shoto, his siblings, along with his parents, Endeavor and Rei. And it's at this point that Endeavor reveals that he is retiring as a hero, which is understandable because he got really messed up in the final war. I mean, he was already messed up in the war before that, the one that happened in Season 6, but coming out of this last one, he can't even walk anymore, and he is missing his right arm. So yeah, he's pretty much done, and it seems like he's finally having his come-to-peace moment with Dabi, where he acknowledges that Dabi's flames were in fact stronger than his, even though he always kind of alluded to that throughout the series anyway. But, genuinely admitting it here, kind of like making Dabi feel better about everything, I suppose. And finally acknowledging that he didn't give Toya the attention that he deserved or that he should have gave him, or just the overall parenting that he certainly deserved, as, every child does. But as we know, Endeavor was a terrible father, for most of his life, up until, I guess, when he started fighting the High-End Nomu. Because he says, you know everything about me, Toya. After all, you were always watching me, and you wanted me to do the same for you, but I didn't. And we see multiple instances where young Toya says, watch me, Dad, and then we see it going further when Dabi is like, incinerating his own body using his quirk full blast, saying, Dad, look at me. And it all ultimately just boiled down to this moment, to where Endeavor says, I've watched your indictment video every single day, so from now on, I'll come every day, so let's talk. And I guess this is like Endeavor's final gesture to Toya/Dabi here. He's going to visit him every day and they'll be able to talk and they'll have some kind of closure and catharsis that was much needed for, Toya's entire life at this point. And I guess Endeavor will do this until Dabi ultimately dies. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Hofsco, because I just picked up their Hov Alpha 26-inch electric fat tire bike, and this thing is absolutely incredible. It's probably my favorite possession. Just looking at it, it's incredibly aesthetic, but it also has a 1300-watt motor with a high-capacity integrated battery that gives you a range of up to 80 miles per charge. It also has a max speed of 28 miles per hour, as well as a 450-pound payload capacity, along with an intuitive LCD digital panel, front suspension, hydraulic disc brakes, a Shimano 7-speed shifter, a headlight and a tail light, as well as a solid aluminum crankset. It also has this really cool thumb throttle that allows you to just cruise without having to pedal. Like I said, this thing is incredible. I feel so safe on the road with it, and it's so powerful. It easily blasts through hills and incline and goes through rough terrain and the forest like it's nothing. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to get it, because it's kind of difficult to go through trails and unpaved roads with traditional bikes. I also don't own a car, considering that I live downtown in the city. I don't have to deal with like car insurance and parking and mechanics and any of that stuff. I just get around no problem with this bad boy. Also, now's the best time to pick up your Hofsco electric bike because they're running their Independence Day sale from today, June 27th to July 4th, where if you get the Hov Alpha, you'll get an extra battery for free that's worth $499. Or if you pick up their Hov cart, you'll get 3 accessories for free worth $377. So guys, check the link in the description and make sure you use code Big Z for $100 off. Thank you guys. And before the rest of the family can really start talking to Dabi here, his heart rate kind of gets erratic, and the doctor's like, yeah, that's enough for today. You're going to have to come back tomorrow. But then Shoto's like, hey, can I just get one question in before we leave? And he's like, what's your favorite food? And surprisingly, Dabi answers genuinely. He's like, soba, cold noodles. And Shoto looks back and he's like, same here. And that kind of breaks the dam for Dabi and his emotional threshold here. And he remembers what Shoto told him as Shoto was defeating him, which actually just happened in the anime for Season 7. I actually just live reacted to that. You can check out my videos on the channel or in the playlist. I'll probably have it linked at the end of this video too. But he says, running in parallel but forever apart. No, we're going to mingle whether you like it or not. And it shows that, yeah, they are similar, even though they weren't really able to ever have that true sibling relationship. It just shows, what could have been. Like, imagine in the multiverse if Toya didn't grow up to become Dabi and he was actually, helpful and supportive with Shoto, and they both grew up together to become heroes. It would have been pretty incredible. And the sequence ultimately ends with Dabi saying, Shoto, sorry. And that's it. That's, I guess, the ending of Dabi's story arc and storyline in this series. I don't think we're going to see him again, but I guess it's at least nice that he is genuinely sorry here. And I guess that's all we could really ask of his story at this point. I mean, yes, he's unredeemable. He's mass murdered, cold-blooded, terrorist acts, whatever. But at least in the end, he was sorry and made Shoto and the rest of his family aware of it. That's all he can, I guess, do at this point. And then coming to the other wrap-up of the Todoroki family here, we see Natsuo, the other son, pretty much telling Endeavor that he's never going to see him again. This is the last time that he's going to see him, and that he's going to marry his girlfriend, but he doesn't even want to introduce her to Endeavor. There's not even going to be a wedding. And Endeavor's just like, yeah, I get it. I'm sorry. And I kind of like that. I like that Natsuo isn't just getting over it and he's just accepting it and oh, it's the end of the series, so everything's fine now. It's no, Natsuo's yeah, I'm not going to get over this. I don't want to be associated with you ever again. I don't care how you try to redeem yourself or what you do. I'm just done. And as for Fuyumi, she essentially says that she's going to get a job with one of her students' mother or something. I don't know why they can't just live off of Endeavor's trust fund, because in real life, that's what would happen. And then Endeavor goes on to say that, I will continue to apologize and give reparations for the crimes for the rest of my life. And you don't have to watch it, but I'll do everything I can to make sure that, I'm the only one that everyone can ultimately blame for everything. Because he is. He literally is the cause of all of this. He purposely gave birth to the 4 people here for his own selfish cause. Because he went insane trying to chase after the dragon of All Might. He knew that he couldn't surpass him himself. So he tried to make a child that could harness the power of his Hellflame quirk along with Rei's Ice quirk. And he deemed the 3 of them failure until he got to Shoto. And because of that, it caused this whole big psychological break inside of the family and ruined multiple people's lives. They're never going to be the same. Even Rei, Rei broke from all of this. We saw that she poured that hot water on Shoto's face. And in this chapter, we actually see coming out of the final war, Rei herself now has a huge scar across her face, when she was trying to stop Dabi's flames with her quirk. So this is kind of coming full circle. This is her retribution and her, I guess you could say, her judgment, her punishment for what she had done to Shoto when he was a kid. Then Shoto's like, okay, I'm going back to school now. Don't worry, Mom and Dad. I've got Class 1A by my side, so I'll be fine. I'm on the path to who I want to become. Which is cool, because he is. He's going to become one of the best heroes in the world, for sure. I mean, he already literally is. He's just not official, I guess. But this isn't the end of Shoto. We're going to see him, for sure, in these next final 5 chapters. But aside from that, that's ultimately it for the Todoroki family, I guess. I'm not mad at this ending. I actually kind of enjoyed it. It was... I think it was wrapped up nicely for at least what Horikoshi set up here. And it's kind of sad to see it end, But I'll get more into my sappy thoughts on the series and everything once we get to the final chapter. But anyway, we're coming to Hawks here, and he's talking to Lady Nagan. And apparently Lady Nagan is free to go because of her assistance in the final war, but she wants to stay in jail a little longer Apparently she's afraid of the outside world, because she was like a Manchurian candidate and was like brainwashed to be not only subservient to All for One, but also to like the Public Safety Committee in the past. So she feels she needs more time to get over that stuff. So she's just going to stay in prison for now. But she's basically free to go. And eventually she will just be free. We're also finding out in the sequence that Hawks is the freaking president of the Public Safety Committee now. So the Public Safety Committee is essentially like the CIA of the My Hero world, I guess. Something like that. And those were the guys who were like contracting Hawks to go undercover into the Paranormal Liberation Front. The original president was like this Hillary Clinton looking character. I don't even know if we got a name on her. I think she was just referred to as like Madam President. But she actually wound up getting killed by Twice when he like made a clone of Redestro. And then that guy Mera, who was like the organizer of the provisional license exam thing, the sleepy guy, he kind of took over as president in the interim. And we actually see Hawks talking to him in this panel here. So I guess we're going to go more into what Hawks' duties are as the new president. Also, it's revealed that Gentle and La Brava are free too, which is understandable because, they helped out majorly in the final war. Like, La Brava did her hacking stuff and Gentle, like, saved UA from falling with his quirk. They ultimately always wanted to be heroes, but I don't think they're going to be able to become them. I think the best they're going to get here is just going free, which is good because they don't need to really be in prison. And then in the final panel of the chapter here, we see Spinner on his hospital bed. So Spinner is alive, which is great because Spinner doesn't have to die. I do think he is one of the villains here that should live on. I mean, yeah, he's going to be in jail probably for the rest of his life, but I think he deserves a better fate than Dabi, Toga, and Shigaraki for sure. Because he, of course, was a victim of circumstance the same way that they were, but he wasn't so much of like a bloodthirsty terrorist the way that they were. He was just looking for a place to fit in. So I think the last time we saw Spinner was when he was fighting in Shoji, and it was revealed that All for One had given him like 2 extra quirks, like forcibly. He gave him like a body bulk quirk that made him like bigger and stronger. And then he gave him like this quirk that gave him like durable scales and blade things on his body. And it messed with his brain. So he was getting all messed up by that too. So after Shoji defeated him, we weren't sure if he was going to live or not. But he is alive here. And we see that somebody's entering his hospital room. Now we don't know who it is. But it could be Izuku because as Shigaraki was like dying, he told Izuku that like, hey, if you see Spinner and if he's alive, let him know that, I kept fighting till the end. Like I kept destroying up until the last moments of my life because that's ultimately what Spinner always wanted. Because Spinner looked up to Shigaraki. Like they had this really cool, subtle bromance that I wish was explored more. But I really liked how ride or die Spinner eventually became for Shigaraki after he proved himself, because Spinner, coming into the series, found refuge as like a Stain stan. The same way that Toga and Dabi kind of did. But then after Stain kind of fizzled out and Spinner became more of just a straight up League member, he found refuge in the real, villain liberator who was Shigaraki. And that actually goes into what Shigaraki was saying in his final moments. It was like, hey, the bad guys need a hero to look up to too. Mainly referring to Spinner. And if it's not Izuku, then it could be that villain-esque looking person that we saw in the previous chapter, who we still don't really know anything about. We've only seen one panel of them. And that could possibly go into something else. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. The next 5 chapters are essentially just going to wrap up the lingering storylines. We have the Izuku Uraraka stuff. We have Bakugo's storyline to wrap up. And then we got to see Deku's dad, too, right? That's still a thing. But let me know what you think about this in the comments, guys. And if you liked it, please give it a like. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.